was at Episcopal, like you and Margie, and very similar. We had something like the abilities battery. Between those results, and I just always, math and physics and science just came easy to me. I guess I thought, okay, I want to go in engineering, and biomedical engineering was very new in the early 80s. That's the time frame I'm looking at. And so I was very interested in that, but we weren't really sure. The more I did it, the more I wanted to be in biomedical engineering. I worked at Mary Bird Perkins. It had just opened back then. It was, a new thing. And worked there. So back then, biomedical engineering was a lot of new imagery, a lot of radiation therapy for cancer patients. It wasn't as big. We didn't even have MRIs back then, so it gives you an idea what time in time we were. So that's what I was studying. I was on a plan with Emory. I went to Emory, and then it was a 5-year plan to finish off at Georgia Tech. And during all of this time in high school, I always cooked for work, kind of like some people babysit. I worked in a restaurant because I loved to cook, always did. And anyway, we got to the point where I graduated, and I was going on that path, and I still just loved cooking, and that's where my passion was. And it was risky, I have 2 medical family, my parents are both doctors, but I was going for my GRE. I'll never forget this. The GRE is like your MCATs when you're going to med school. GRE is the engineering test to go in, and I was at the GRE, and I knew that at the restaurant we had a big function, and I left the GRE early, and my chef, who was like my mentor, looked at me and said, who was friends with my parents, looked at me and said, what the heck are you doing? You're supposed to be in your GRE. And I said, we've got this function, I really want to do it, and I knew I needed to get, the bread rising for the, I forget what it was, but it was something silly. And she talked to me about it, and she was always my mentor, and she's like, what are you going to do? And I still got into a good school. MD Anderson had a program, and I was going with them. And I just said, I don't want to do it. So I ended up just following my passion, like you said, and said, well, and she was wonderful. And she said, well, if you're going to do this, you got to do it right. And she helped me fill out the applications, and I was very lucky to be accepted at, the best culinary school in our country, and that's the Culinary Institute of America. It's in Hyde Park, New York, and I got in. So she goes, now you can bring this to your parents, but it was a tough thing to tell them, and they were not happy, but they knew that maybe that's the way I tick, is I follow my passion from there. So, but it was interesting. After I became a chef, and I worked in California, worked in New York, worked in California, and years later, Pennington Biomedical Engineering here in Baton Rouge offered me the executive chef position to work with them. So I brought all the science back with all the food passion. And it's going to sound corny, but I come alive when I cook. I just love it. I love it. I love to show people how to cook. I love sharing that excitement about it. I tell the girls that. I'm like, don't worry about money, because I think that was the one thing that I was worried about, is how am I going to make a living? And you go through a lot of very lean years when you're in the food industry. And, you can follow your passion. It helps a lot to do something you love every day for work, because it is work.